Oh, hello. I did not see you there. My name's Joe Johnson, and this is my final speech for Family Advanced Class. And I'm sorry I keep playing with my hair. It's a habit, you know. So my speech is about to start now. What is the future of the American family? Taking this class and reading the textbook. Probably not going to use this because the shaking. Oh, hello. Did not see you there. Thanks for coming over. Welcome to my house, and this is my speech about the future of families. To start off with, I would like to talk about my input on the class and our textbook we read. Reading through it, it seemed like it had a lot of, I would almost say, abstract ideas. I felt like one of the biggest points of the book talked about how family is developed over communication. Our communication defines what our family is. And for some reason, I had a really hard time wrapping my mind around it. I kind of think about, it's almost like the river or rain shaping rocks. Like it's not something we know what happens, and the scale is almost too big. I kind of feel that with like this. It's almost too big for me to totally understand. So I had to kind of stop and really take time to think about it. I think a lot of times families believe that they don't think much about how they want their family to be. I was taught that when me and my wife got married, we set some goals, almost like a marriage contract of like, how do we want our marriage to look like? We're not going to beat each other. We're not going to talk about divorce. We kind of had a setup. We had plans. With kids on the way, it's kind of nerving because I don't know what kind of father I want to be. I don't know what goals I want to set, and I have to realize that how I act is going to define our family. To kind of get a more concrete grip on this, the example I used was if you have a father who continuously tells his kids, you can come talk to me about anything. But if they come talk to him and he gets angry about what they say, or if he gets so upset they walk away, eventually the message doesn't become, we can talk to Dad. The message becomes, we shouldn't talk to Dad because he gets so angry. So it's not so much the communication, it's how we act. I mean, it is the communication, sorry. It's not what we say alone that communication's about. We've learned this so many times how much communication is more than just the words we speak. And the reason I'm kind of saying this is I don't think a lot of families, as I said, think about what kind of family they want, how do they want to relate with each other. I think for a long time it's been by tradition that I feel, especially with fathers, we hear a lot of, well, this is how my dad raised me, and this is how I'm going to raise my kids. It was for a long time very family orientated. But things seem to be changing. We're kind of in a new ballpark now with social media. This is the first thing I wanted to focus on, how I feel like things are going to impact the American family in the future. Because we now have access to any country. We have access to hundreds and hundreds of people. So if we have a family who's not defining itself, parents don't think about how they want to set an example, what lessons they want to pass on. We now have kids who can go online and learn stuff, get defined stuff by tons of different people. I have a distant cousin who lives a life very cultured in the Korean culture. She is from Iowa and lives like she's from Korea because we have social media. She's actually been to Korea. She has Facebook friends from Korea. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it is what it is. We have new technology. In itself, it's not good or bad. I wrote some stuff down what I think is going to be good about it for the future. Some stuff I think is going to be bad about it in the future. The good, one thing, Jen, you talked about a lot in class is people can find more culture and understanding by learning more and create a more accepting family. Let me rephrase that. By learning more about different cultures, we can respect other cultures. By understanding more, about different societies, gender issues, when we learn more about that, we can become a more accepting family, a more welcoming family. And I think that's a really good thing. We can also have a lot of good support for families in the sense of you no longer have to be under the same roof to be connected. We have Skype, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have all these ways you can now connect with your family. My wife's parents is in Iowa. We're about to have our firstborn. Think about 50 years ago what that meant. Maybe being able to see the kid occasionally for Christmas, holidays. You'd have to see these still photos. Now, what we experience, we can instantly put online. And it's great because they can see it. And that's going to define the family. It can make good connections, can build families, and that can be great. The bad, kind of what we talked about in our gender class, we don't think we can be influenced. We think everybody else gets influenced. We don't realize that we can. And there's some issues, I think, that are going to be coming up with that. The first thing that I got concerned about is divorce. I think some social media can probably have an impact on divorce. And in fact, I went to Pew.com and actually found a very interesting site talking about, is divorce contagious? And studies show the closer connections you have to divorce, the more likely you yourself are to be divorced. I don't want to shake the camera. I would show you this, but the stats that I'm looking at is if you're 2 degrees of separation from divorce, you have 33% more likely than other couples to divorce. If you're 1 degree of separation, it becomes 75% more likely to divorce. And I've seen that with my family, where my mom was friends with people who were getting divorced, and they very much encouraged her for her divorce. And I think that's what led to one of the things that led to my parents' divorce. So we have issues there. We have issues where now young people who maybe don't get what they feel like they need from our parents can go online and have a lot more options for bad influences. There's a lot of sites where you can go on just to meet people to be physical with around you. It can be very destructive. And I think we might see a lot more of that with our youth as time goes on if we don't realize that we need to define the family. Otherwise, the world will define the family. Something's going to define the family one way or the other. So what is the prognosis of the family? I can't help, sorry, I'm a nerd, but think about X-Men. I think about Charles Xavier and Eric Magnus, also known as Magneto. And the idea is, whenever a new evolution of species comes along, it immediately follows the extinction of the less evolved species. In other words, when mutants come along, people are afraid they are going to get rid of the normal people, humans. Xavier's point is, we can live in peace. I feel that a little bit like this with the family, where we have a new evolution of technology coming along, a new evolution of the family. And it doesn't have to be the immediate extinction of the old family. We can still use it to build traditional families, but just in a different way. I still believe in a traditional marriage. I'm more focused on... I don't want to argue if other types of relationships are right or wrong. My point is, I think a man and a woman, just because of our diversity, is perhaps the most healthy for a family. And we can use technology to still spread that idea. We have research now. We have research to learn how to become a better family. We have research online. We have so many resources at our fingertips to figure out how to be a better family, what to do. And, sorry, I know time's cutting short, so I'm going to have to start jumping up. So, and going along with the families too, one thing I wanted to compare what I see a traditional family, again, sorry to bring in comic books again, but the Fantastic Four. They were the first, like, real huge superhero success for Marvel Comics. And one of the arguments why they were so great is because they were so diverse. You had somebody who was fast, somebody who was strong, somebody who was stealthy, somebody who was smart. And that's how I feel with the traditional family. You have a mom, a dad, both bring something different to the table. So I think by letting culture define what kind of family is, that's a lot of danger. Because we as families have to define what families are. I can't let my family be defined by something out there. I have to let my family be defined by us. My final point is talking about the prodigal son, kind of what I learned about it. It was a really good read. And I discussed a little bit how I felt like the older son a lot. But what I really liked about this was humanizing it. One thing I thought about over and over again is the father and the older son being left at home. We don't know how long it was. Maybe it was a few weeks. Maybe it was a few years. And just wondering, how much did the father think about the son? How much did the father sit and wonder and say, man, is my son coming home? I wonder, relating to this, if there was just totally different expectations. If the older son was frustrated the entire time, wondering, Dad, why did you let him do it? That's not our culture. That's not how we do things. You should have beat him on the spot. So humanizing it changed it a little bit for me. And in a spiritual way, it's good and bad. I like that we personalize it, but on the other hand, it's kind of tough because I'm like, well, that's not like God. The more I think about it, it's like, yes, it is. When I walk away from God, he's scared. Like, oh, is he coming back? Does he know I love him? So that was kind of tough. So to kind of recap everything in a nutshell. Future of America. What is the prognosis of the family? It's up to us to decide. One way or the other, we're going to be defined. Either by us or by what's out there. And as for the prodigal son, it teaches me to be home with my father and be happy about it. So, that's my speech. Thank you for the class. Have a good night.